Hello to everyone out there in the Matrix. I hope everybody's staying safe. Today, I was going to. Whoops, sorry about that. Today, I was going to do a video regarding ancient Chinese facial reading. Um, which I'm going to do it on Alexandria, Ocasio-Cortez. I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm going to be focusing on this area here. And in this quadrant of the face is where you would find the shin and or the lack of shin. And and since she's wearing makeup, it would be hard to do a reading on blemishes, wrinkles, lines, this type of thing. So I'm going to be focusing on the eye area. And as I mentioned, the shin is considered to be an energy field that is outside of your body, and it will only enter your body if you have this it's conducive to enter, if that makes sense. It's not shin won't go into the body unless there's a connection somehow, and you can't go by if there is a radiance to it, because there are two types of shin. Oh, and I would just like to say right in the beginning that I am, I'm not making an opinion, this is not political, this just is my assessment of this individual based on ancient Chinese facial reading, which is alleged to date back 2,500 years, but for all we know, it was 25 million years ago. When I started looking at these photos, and believe me, I looked at more than I cared to, and I only pulled up, I don't know, maybe 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe a dozen. I don't know. I looked at more of them than I cared to. But in ancient Chinese facial reading, when you are looking at the eyes, there is an element that is called gu, G-U, and it is literally translated to ghost. And in this ancient art, when someone has a bulging eye and or an eye that looks in a different direction, they are believed to be that the body is believed to possess more than one spirit, hence gu, ghost. And looking through more of these photos than I cared to, I noticed the bulging eye. And she definitely has it. Let me pop over to another one. One thing very interesting that I noticed during my assessment is that this bulging eye seemed to go from one eye to another, which would lead me to believe, just from an assessment, that she has more than one spirit in her besides her own spirit. And, you know, when you're looking at this photo here, if you look at this here, bulging, but you can tell that this eye is slightly looking in a different direction. Some of these other ones are more pronounced. This eye is looking directly at you. This one is looking slightly, I guess that would be what, to her right. Move on here. Now, if you want to know what I'm talking about, notice the bulge in the eye has moved. And also in this image, notice the eye is looking in a it is looking in the same direction more or less, but this eye is not equal to that one. This one is bulging, and this one is it's looking in a different direction, just for a lack of a better way of saying it. Let me find this other one. Not so pronounced there, but I can tell you, I have others here that definitely is the case. But did you notice? Let me find this one. Notice the bulging eye is on her right eye in that image. And notice the bulging eye here is on her left eye. This is why I'm saying that she probably has more than one spirit driving. Just saying, from an assessment. Now, this one here is, again, you got the bulging eye. Alright. There's an interesting thing about this shin, and that is, just because someone appears to have a great deal of shin rather than a weak shin, you cannot, well, actually, you should pay attention to that, because, and you're not just using one thing. You don't just narrow it down and say, okay, this person is this way because of some way. And I'll give you an example. If you were to look at an image of Ted Bundy, he had this same type of radiance. He was very charisma, but you focus on this area, the shin area. Ted Bundy had a radiant glow. However, as with this photo here, if you know what you're looking for, there's nothing there. It's blank, as you would have seen with Ted Bundy, even though he appeared to be very radiant, but he was also a serial killer. Now, another serial killer, the Night Stalker, Ramirez, I believe was his name. Should you look at a photo of him, he has total absence of any shin. And these type of individuals, they it's all like they are sucking you in. And if you were to put a photo of Ted Bundy and Ramirez side by side, you would notice the total opposite of anything, even though there is, well, they were deadly, you know. And so the this still would remind me of Ted Bundy. It's radiant, but it's dead. It's blank. It's just. But if you look at enough of these and you are familiar with ancient Chinese facial reading, you would understand what I'm talking about. Getting a little bit distracted because there's something going on outside, but another example of the bulging eye, and again, when you look at the shin area, there's a very weak shin, like an absence of, just an absence of empathy or something. I move on here. Another very good example of someone else is driving is the bulging eye. You know, I'm thinking, I looked at this photo again, and I'm almost thinking this one is the bulging, but if you can clearly see how this eye here is not looking in the same direction as that one, it's just not. It indicates there's something else driving, there's another spirit driving. And this one, very radiant. When you look at this, very, very radiant. But there's just an absence. There is an absence of shin. And this must be one from when she was younger. And, you know, I notice her whole facial features, but she's very smiling and cheerful in this. But when you look at this area right here, and if you know what you're looking for, what what you're seeing here is not what is going on here. Very weak shin. And this one, I pulled this one up because of the, you could clearly see the bulging eye here. And this is fake as everything, but we're not getting into the, we're not getting into that. We're just going to stay with the eyes. But this, what's going on right here, is no reflection of this. Actually, what's going on here is a reflection of this fake smile. And this one, I decided to end on this one. Now, in ancient Chinese facial reading, with the eyes, when you have this going on, where you see white above the pupils, and she has it on both sides, or both eyes. This is not my opinion. This is an assessment based on ancient Chinese facial reading. An individual, and if you ever see someone like this, run for your life, because these people are very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Stand in the mirror and try and get your eyes to do that. There is another one. There is one other one that is right. She has three sides of white showing. There is one where there are four sides. The whiteness below is also showing. If you see a person like that, that is above this, so you need to run for the hills. But this one here is an indication of a psychosis and a very dangerous individual. And I can say that I do not remember the name of this individual, but it happened in Indiana, and he was a serial killer, and they found, I forget how many bodies on his farm or something, very horrific thing. But something that I had noticed in his image is, instead of the white on the top, he had a lot of white underneath the pupils, which, considering the fact that he was busted for being a serial killer, those individuals would also be very, very dangerous. I recently heard that this, when you have white above the pupil, that they are actually the most dangerous type of individual, like in a sadistic, dangerous way. While I would not necessarily disagree with the individual that was saying this, I would say, based on my analysis of that guy in Indiana, which was caught with all these bodies from all these years buried on his farm, he did not have the white above his eyes. He had it underneath his pupils on both sides. So if you see someone that has eyes like this with a lot of white above the pupils, be aware and get away from these people. And should you ever see the four corners with white, you definitely run for your life. So there's a lot that could be said, even in this image here. And let me, so when I'm getting this as being the bulging eye here, but again, as in many other of these photos, if you notice, this eye is not looking the same direction as that one. It's just, and based on, not my opinion, but ancient Chinese facial reading, this means that there's someone else driving, and it is not the original spirit. And since I have seen this bulging eye move from one eye to another, I would go as far as to assess that she has more than one spirit in her besides her own. So, anyways, that is it, I guess. I'm going to end that again. This isn't political, not making any judgment. It's not my opinion. I'm just making an assessment based on ancient Chinese facial reading. So, anyways, that's it. And everybody have a very safe day. End of transmission.